Hey y'all, it's me, Miss Phil, and I'm here from the beach. Look, I'm by the water. But I'm here to teach you another lesson of soccer, and today we're going to be talking about the different positions. So, let's get to it. We know from yesterday's lesson that there are 11 people on each team. That's 22 total on the field playing, one team versus another team. But we're going to talk about the different positions that you can be on your specific team. We know that there's one goalie, and then the other 10 people are called field players. We're going to break it down into the different positions, and we're going to learn a little bit more about them. Now, before I get into anything else, I want to make one thing clear. All these positions can be both an offensive and defensive position. So even though you would be defense, it doesn't mean that you're always just playing defense. You could become a part of the offense. I think that's something that a lot of people, when they start playing soccer, they get confused about. Just because you're playing defense doesn't mean that you can never help to score a goal and be offensive, and just because you play offense doesn't mean that you can't go back and help the defense. So they're interchangeable, which means that they can do a little of both things. It's just the title that they have or what they're called. So just because you're called defense doesn't mean that you only play defense, and just because you're called an offender doesn't mean you're only and always trying to score goals. You have to help each other out and go back and forth. Alright, so let's look at the goalie. So GK stands for goalkeeper. Now, there's a specific place on the field where the goalie is allowed to be, and it's this greened out area right here. This bigger box is called the 18-yard box, which means it's 18 yards from this end line right here. This tinier box that you see is the 6-yard box. So this is 6 yards away, and this is 3 times bigger because it's 18, because 6 times 3 is 18. So this whole space where I put the green lines is where the goalie is allowed to be. Now, it doesn't mean that the goalie can only stay there, it just means that the goalie can only use their hands in this area. The goalie can actually come anywhere they want. I've seen and I've been in games where the goalie comes all the way down here to be a part of the offense. This is what I'm talking about, where just because you're called a certain thing doesn't mean you have to stay in that place. So usually the goalies stay right in here, but they are allowed to come outside of that area as well. They just cannot use their hands anywhere outside of the 18-yard box. And their job is to stay in here and try to protect the goal from being scored on. So now let's talk about defense. So you see on my field, I drew these dashed lines. This splits the field into 3 different sections, okay? So there's the defensive third, if you're going this direction. This is the defensive third, this is the offensive third, and then you have this middle neutral zone. But we're going to talk about the defenders. So your defenders usually stay somewhere in this area, from this thick dashed red line back, but I drew these arrows so that you can see that the defense doesn't have to stay here. They can move up. They can move all the way up to this side, all the way to the offensive side. So again, the defender's main job is to stay in this area as most of the time, but they are definitely allowed, and they should move up to help the offense when the ball is over here and they could potentially score and help their team to score. So the defenders stay closer to the goal, but they are definitely allowed and should move up when the ball moves up and they are on offense. It's time to talk about the midfield. And again, I split up the big field into 3 different sections. You can see that the midfield is in the middle, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So the midfielders, again, I've drawn arrows so that you can see that midfield, even though they're positioned mainly in the middle of the field, they are definitely allowed and should go up on offense and back on defense to help. The midfielders are in that middle position for a reason, because they can help the defense when they need to, and they can come up and help the offense when they need to. Now we get to talk about the offense, or the forwards. And Miss Phil played this position too, so I know a little bit more about this one as well. So your forwards, again, if you're going this direction, so your team's trying to score over here, your forwards are in this offensive third of the whole field. See how I broke it up into the thirds again? But this side, the offensive side, is where your forwards are primarily going to be, or they're going to be up here most of the time when the ball is up here, because they're your people who are trying to score your goals so that your team can hopefully win. So your forwards are going to be in the opposite goalie's box. See that? This is where the other goalie would be, in their 18-yard box. But your forwards are up here most of the time. But again, I drew these arrows so that you could see that your forwards or your offense, they can come backwards and help their team when the ball goes over here too. So as a forward, you're supposed to be up by the other team's goal, but it's also really helpful to come back and help your teammates to try to stop the other team from scoring on their side. And now, here's a picture of everybody on the field and their positions all at the same time so you could see how they overlap. So you can see we're starting back here with the goalies. Here's their box, but they can come out if they want to, remember? They just can't use their hands. Then you have your defensive third, and your defenders are here. See how the defenders share with the goalies and the midfielders? So you can see their arrows are overlapping. And then we move up to the midfielders area, which is in the middle of the field, and they can go backwards and forwards. And here your forwards are your offense, which can also come back and forth. Now the forwards, again, can come all the way back here if they want to, and your defenders can come all the way up here. So just remember that just because you're playing a specific area doesn't mean you have to stay in that same place the whole entire game. It's actually really good if you go back and forth and help. Maybe that makes a little more sense. I hope that it does. And if you haven't played soccer, I hope that you try, because it's Miss Phil's favorite. And again, I played goalie and I played forward, and I've even played a little of these as well. But these ones are my favorite, forward and goalie. So if you guys play soccer, let me know what position you play, or if you want to play soccer, what position do you think you'd want to play? I hope you learned a little bit more with me today, and tomorrow I'll come back with who knows what. Might be a surprise. But until then, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye!